with that being, oh, my bad, Sam. Sam, what you got going on? You got some questions?
Well, first of all, I was also delighted that you made the decision to.
What's up, George Red? What's up?
Because it's very important and very critical. Being a resident of the Northeast Ward, I can see there's not been a lot of progress in our segment of the community, and there's not been any job movement. There's not been any economic development. There's not been any housing. But I guess the main question I have for you is, what specific policy will you bring to the City Council to counteract the housing deficit in Winston-Salem that currently stands at about 15,000 units and continues to grow?
Well, that is absolutely an area that I'm very interested in, and an area that I'm currently working in. So I'm working with 3 groups right now. One is called the For Everyone Home Initiative, that is looking at how do we protect, preserve, and produce more affordable housing. I'm working with the Affordable Housing Coalition, that is also looking at those same things, looking at our housing stock to see how we can preserve our housing stock. There was a time in Winston when we were demolishing a lot of homes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, and so we can see some of the steps that are symbols of where those houses once. And I think that
What's up, London?
that we have gotten away from that as a city, and looking at, because we are in an affordable housing crisis, and so looking at how can we preserve the housing stock that we have. And then the other thing is our eviction rates. Our eviction rates are the highest in the country.
Sky high.
Okay, one of the highest in the country.
Right now, we need about 15,000 affordable housing units.
We do.
Right now.
We
And
do
that's
that
not
right now.
even for, years to come. We need that right now.
Yeah. And so I think that some of the policies that we can look at is, first of all, protecting people's rights. So tenants who are being evicted for reasons, some of them are being evicted because they are complaining about the condition of their houses. So they're getting evicted for that. So we need a tenant's rights, some policy that's going to protect our tenants. We need our inclusionary housing policy. We need to take a look at that and incentivize it. That's a policy that comes from the state, and so we don't have home rule over that. Right. And so, but we can incentivize the production of more houses. We can incentivize that those people who are producing housing to produce more affordable housing. But right now, there has to be an incentive for that. So I would introduce some of those policy-like actions in our city.
Incentives such as?
Well, you can give them a break on the requirements for parking, for instance. You can give them a break for the number of units that are produced. So there are several things that we can look at. There's a toolkit that we are asking residents to go through, because I think these policy recommendations need to come from the people.
Right.
Okay, and we need to be able to put them forth, give them to the city hall, go to the city council meeting. We need to be in those meetings and demand that some change occur. And I would encourage the citizenry, and particularly the people in the Northeast Ward, to show up in City Hall when these recommendations come. Right now, I am...
or if they can't come, send a representative.
Yeah.
One of the things that, I haven't seen a lot of is a lot of neighborhood associations. And could you talk about, the power of the neighborhood associations when, they have created a design that they would like to implement in our communities, such as like additional housing or a highway coming in? How impactful is that, a neighborhood association?
Neighborhood associations can be very impactful. When you have the voices of many, you can get changes to occur. Whereas this is just one person, people aren't really hearing you. But if you can get many voices, that can be very impactful. I think that there are many neighborhood associations in our community. When I was at Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods, we helped to start neighborhood associations. We also helped to help for those whose neighborhood associations had gone inactive, to help them activate those. My neighborhood, for instance, is one of those in Ogden Station that had gone inactive, had been very active, went inactive, and so we were able to get that reactivated and get people really engaged in making decisions that impact their neighborhoods. And I think that's what it's going to take. But they can be very effective. They can show up at City Hall. They can talk to their city council people and let them know what they desire to see change in their neighborhoods. But again, they have to show up at City Hall in order to let people know that they mean business.
We have a question from Facebook Live, and if you have a question, you can drop it in. I'll ask. But this one particular question is from London. London says, "How can you help the elderly to make home repairs, especially when they are financially challenged?" Well, from my understanding, that the city has programs that do repairs for whomever.
Yeah.
So
there is a program called Turn, transforming urban residential neighborhoods, that people can get a low interest loan to repair their homes, and that loan is recoverable, which means that if they stay in their house for 5 years or more, then that loan goes away. But that loan is available to homeowners as well as to landlords.
Really?
To fix up their houses. I think that there is a policy that could come before the city council that says that if you're a landlord and you get a loan to fix up your house, you need to fix it, yes, but you also need not raise your rent.
Hello.
Because you got that loan and because you made those repairs. And I think a lot of that is happening. So I think city council can make some decisions around that. There is another organization that I'm working with called Age Friendly Forsyth. They are working to help the elderly with home modifications and repairs. They're just in the beginning of that, really strategizing and coming up with outcomes to help the elderly. But that's another resource. I think that we need to be aware of the resources that are available to us. I'm working with an organization that has created a resource map, and that with that resource map, you can look at every neighborhood, you can put in the address, and you can see what resources that you have surrounding you within a mile radius or even within a 3-mile radius or further. And so I think we just got to know what resources are available to us, make this information known to people so that they can avail themselves to these resources.
And
you're
that's
right.
impactful.
Yeah, you're right. We have some resources. Sometimes we just don't know about them.
With that being said, again, thank you for that answer. She said, "What if they have limited income or credit challenges? Turn is not willing to help, nor other agencies in the community." I don't know, Linda. We're gonna have to talk about that later.
But let me respond to that though. I think that again, there are ways that you can get your home repaired. There are organizations who might come out and do some repairs. Our senior services, I have seen them put up handicap ramps for seniors, for the elderly. Again, we need to know about the resources that are available to us, to our communities, that can help us move economically. Economic mobility is an issue here, but knowing what resources you have and building on those resources will help you meet the challenges that you have, even if your income is low. And just speaking of that, poverty is a real issue in our community.
Yes, concentrated poverty.
Yeah, and we got to help people become economically mobile, helping them to get out of crisis, because a lot of us are underwater and stuck in crisis. We just can't see ourselves, above in terms of how to get ahead. And so we got to move people from crisis to self-sufficiency.